Obviously, it's been a tough few weeks. So let's just call it for what it is. Yesterday, there's a lot of emotion on the station with Jeff Stoutland's departure, and I imagine that emotion is going to continue today into our show and all day on the station, as it should, because it's a shame that Jeff Stoutland is no longer with the Eagles here. But if this was just Jeff Stoutland, I'd say, all right, that's tough, but we got to move on, right? We got to pick ourselves up and figure it out. But it's just been gut punch after gut punch this offseason. And I start adding them together, and I start to think about where this Eagles franchise is right now. And you look, and Sunday is the Super Bowl, right? And last year, we were in this spot. Last year, we were in New Orleans doing our last show before we flew home before Super Bowl 59. And now we sit here on the eve of Super Bowl 60, and I hope, just like you guys hope, that we're back in the Super Bowl next year. Super Bowl 61. Maybe the Eagles are in there for the third time in 6 years. But it really doesn't feel like it. And as I sit here this morning, Hugh, I feel like the Eagles' Super Bowl window is closing. That the window they opened in 2022, we all hope it would last 5, 6, 7 years, but I think the number is 4, 22, 23, 24, 25. And if it was it, they did a hell of a job maximizing it, getting into 2 Super Bowls, winning 1. But I think this thing is closing, and it's closing fast. Just think about this offseason. So we have an offensive coordinator spot open. Nobody really wanted it. We land on a 33-year-old that I like, and I'm a Mannion man, but he's 33 and probably going to need some time to figure this out. We're going to have basically an entire new offensive staff trying to put a new system in with a quarterback who's never played in that kind of system. Now we're losing Jeff Stoutland to teach the offensive line. We had to convince Vic Fangio to come back just for 1 more year, so I don't even know if he's going to be here 2 years from now. And now we question if all the offensive linemen are even going to be here to rebound next year. Yesterday, Jeff McClain, listen to this, talking about Landon Dickerson. Yes, Landon Dickerson. Keep an eye out for that name. And especially Lane Johnson and their futures. Here is Jeff McClain and his podcast.
It could take the Eagles basically, showing them how much he means to them for him to be back for another season. And, I think he's kind of earned that right. And look, they would be up creek without him, I think. This is, again, another Hall of Famer, surefire Hall of Famer. And I know that, the injuries are a concern. I know he's working really hard to get that foot back to 100%. He's not stopping his rehab. He's not stopping all the crazy workouts that Lane does. So I keep leaning that he will be back for a last season. Landon Dickerson may be even more of a question mark to me.
So hit that the end hit. Lane up in the air. We'll see. Yeah, that's a good noise. Lane up in the air. We'll see. And then Landon Dickerson, a question mark to retire. It blew me away. But considering all the injuries he's had, the way he spoke at the end of the season, I suppose it is not out of the realm. Hugh, where are you at this morning on this? I hope we're back in this game 1 year from now. But I look at all this stuff added up. 33-year-old to see, Stout out, Lane unsure. Dickerson maybe headed to an early retirement, AJ trade stuff. I feel like this Super Bowl window is closing in front of our eyes.
Feels like a soap opera.
Yeah,
if I'm being honest,
it
feels like a soap opera. And the thing that has happened is when it rains, it pours. I said a few weeks ago, man, this offseason is going to be interesting. And I said, can't wait till all the stories come out. I didn't know it was going to be like this. I really didn't. When you talk about some of the things that have transpired over the last couple of weeks, Stoutland leaving abruptly, feels like he really didn't get a chance to reach out to any of his guys. So that's kind of crazy. The fact that Landon Dickerson's name is being mentioned. I had the right line, wrong person, though.
You did predict a retirement of an offensive lineman.
Yeah, and it's ironic
I told you so Douglas going to kind of weasel his way in.
No, but I'm just saying.
Well, nothing happens. So.
Well, the reckless speculation, I was dead on with that. I think I should be back in the running for the inside of the year.
McClain's breaking retirements and returns.
No, but I'm just saying.
20 games up with 2 weeks to go.
I pulled that rabbit out the hat yesterday, if I do say so myself. But it's just a lot, man. But I will say this. No football is being played for 6 months. So I choose to be optimistic. It looks bad, no question about it.
Yeah, it does.
When you talk about the potential of AJ not being here,
Landon,
the new offensive coordinator.
Lane,
it looks bad,
Stoutland.
but I choose to be optimistic.
All right, well,
because there are still moves to be made on this chessboard.
Sure, and I reserve the right to change my mind if Howie makes some good moves.
Yeah, but right now I know you're being a little
I'm viewing it the way it is. This window's closing, and windows in the NFL open rapidly and they close rapidly.
No doubt.
And sometimes you don't even realize when they're opening. They're just there. I don't think most people, when the 2022 season started, were penciling us in for a trip to Arizona, and then we got there. Like, they opened fast. The Seahawks, right? Did anyone think they were going to the Super Bowl? No, they opened fast. Now theirs is open. And the Eagles did a good job for 4 years getting the most out of their window. This thing's closing, though, folks. 215-592-9494. I didn't even throw in the head coach is on the hot seat again, which is obvious to anyone with eyes. And then that's your word for him, or words for him. This also from McClain was interesting about how it seems like the Eagles are dead set on changing the offense here and changing the way they do things. And if you're not on board, well, you're not going to be here for very long. Here's Jeff McClain on his podcast.
Vav used it, and Nick Sirianni used it, and a lot of it has to do with the quarterback. A lot of it, and they're basically signaling to not only Jeff Stoutland and the coaches, and we've now seen it, with Mahaffey coming in, that Jason Michaels will be out as tight end coach. It looks like Scott Loeffler, quarterback's coach, will be out. I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Moorhead, the wide receivers coach, doesn't come back either. But it's like, hey, get on board, or we're moving along. And that's not just the coaches, but that's going to be Jalen Hurts, and that's going to be a lot of the other players as well.
Ooh, get on board, or we're moving along.
That's funny
feels like. Yeah, go ahead.
He didn't want that heat. He said Jalen Hurts and everybody else.
Yeah, but he said the quarterback.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he named him.
Yeah, he said his name.
He kind of couched it a little bit. He was being a little soft.
Well, the bottom line is he's probably right? Get on board. New offense, new scheme. If you don't play well, you're out.
Kind of called that early. I did kind of.
Called all this.
I called all that.
Yeah, maybe if you're calling all this, you should be on board the window's closing.
I think it's still open, though. I think that this is the NFL in a nutshell. It's just that we are so locked in with this team. It feels heavier than it really is. Now, the good thing about all this, and I'm going to put a positive spin on this.
Okay.
Is that all of this is happening technically before the end of the 2025 season.
That's supposed to make me feel better.
Well,
the offseason hasn't even started.
It hasn't even started yet. You're right, Joe, and there's going to be a lot of guys out there that are free agents.
Yeah.
And, with these things coming out now, there are going to be some shoes to fill, no question about that. And, one of the biggest shoes to fill, in my opinion, is going to be the loss of Coach Stoutland.
Sure.
And trying to figure that out. But we have to persevere. We got to just keep pushing forward. And I think that they're in a good position to do that, because now all of these stories are coming out. The best thing about it is, okay, say, for instance, if Landon does decide to retire, you've given yourself enough time to go out and find his replacement.
So I agree with you, but there's only so many resources, right? So if Lane retires and Landon retires, you only have one first-round pick, right?
Yeah.
It's like every time.
Free agency, though, too.
Well, free agency is. Free agency could obviously help your football team, but is that the way you want to build the team?
Well, you don't. But you're talking about a whole, draft one, replace one through free agency.
Yeah, you could do that.
And I know that the unfortunate thing about it is now, with so many holes needing to be filled, it changes your draft strategy tremendously. Mm-hmm. It changes it tremendously. So it's one of those things where if you thought you were going into the draft and you would be able to get this person, you might have to pivot and get something else. Say, for instance, if Reed Blankenship, if you wanted to go out and get a safety with the first-round draft pick, that changes things. Now you might have to go into free agency and find his replacement or sign him for another year. It does put you in a little bit of a pickle, but I think that there's still enough here that you can still be relevant and contend for a Super Bowl berth.
Yeah, to me, I think that's where you and I see it similar but the same. Relevant, sure. Are the Eagles going to be a playoff contender? Probably, right? I don't think the NFC East next year is going to have a 12 or 13 win team. I don't think it will. The Cowboys are probably the closest thing to. Maybe they'll take a jump up, but you can win the division maybe next year 10 or 11 wins. Could the Eagles be that? Maybe. I heard Joe this morning say he thinks they go under 500. We'll see where this thing goes. But there's a difference between legitimate Super Bowl team, and I think the Eagles for 4 years have walked into the season thinking Super Bowl legitimately for 4 straight years. It's worked out twice, hasn't worked out the other 2 years, but they still won 11 games. I think this is going to be the first time in years where we don't walk into a season really thinking that. Maybe they do it, but we don't walk in thinking it. 215-592-9494. Where do you come down on this? It is Super Bowl Friday. The game is 2 days away. Boy, we hope the Eagles are there next year. But I add all this together between probably only one more year of Vic, 33-year-old offensive coordinator, new system. I don't know if the quarterback could play well in this system. A lot of defections. We haven't even gotten to the AJ trade stuff, which is probably coming here soon. a head coach on the hot seat. This feels like a team whose window was 4 years and now it is closing. Where do you come down? Kyle, what are you feeling as we could the Dickerson thing, there's another kick.
I know.
What is going on around
It's like
here?
you're just getting repeatedly kicked in the stones.
It
is. So, like, when you first asked that question, I went to, I think, like, my heart's reaction, which was like, we're,
come on now.
Transition year. We're just taking a little Super Bowl siesta. We'll be back. Just
Siesta.
following the pattern of this Eagles team is, they're down for a little bit, and then things change so quickly in a year that they're back up. But that pattern, I think, had a foundation of, the pillars of this team were there. Lane Johnson, Jeff Stoutland, even, the head coach, the quarterback, stuff like that. Like, there were pieces there that you're like, okay, like, this is the Super Bowl core. The defense, right? Vic Fangio. Now there's all these question marks. And, until I get answers to all those questions, A.J. Brown, Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, now we know Stoutland's out. What the defense going to look like next year, and then beyond that, I think if I knew that I had a defensive core that we could, that could be the foundation of this team beyond next season, I'd feel good. But Fangio's going to be out of here.
Yeah,
I'm pretty much counting this as Fangio's last year, and then we're talking about a head coach who's on shaky ground, a quarterback who's on shaky ground. It's just too much. It feels like this thing's falling apart, and until I get more clarity, unless Howie Roseman's able to shove his arm in there and stop this window from closing, this thing's falling.
Yeah, and it feels like one of those windows that the Eagles have done this before. They've had windows closed. They open new ones quickly. That could happen again. I'm not saying this thing is done for 5 years. 2 years from now, we could be back in this game. This group, they've had a hell of a run, Hugh. 4 years they've won 50 total games the last 4 years, been in 2 Super Bowls. That's a great run in the NFL. Most teams can't keep these windows open for a decade at a time. To me, the teams that do, they have one of two things, or both of them. They have an all-time great coach, right? Like an Andy. I think McVay and Shanahan are pushing towards that kind of level, right? Mm-hmm. Or they have an all-time great quarterback, right? The Mahomes, Brady, and Belichick. That seems to be the issue with this. That if everything's right around Sirianni and Hurts, they could win a lot of games. But now it seems like we're heading towards a year where there could be a lot of stuff around Sirianni and Hurts that isn't as good as it used to be.
Well, it feels like. I'll give you this. We're in transition, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be under the microscope this year.
Yeah,
and we're going to find out. We're going to find out a lot about everybody. We're going to find out a lot about the coach. We're going to find out what the quarterback is made of, which I think he'll be fine. But we're going to find out about everybody, man, because when you say stuff like everybody's on notice, that's exactly what that means. And Patullo's still in the building. Coach Patullo, I should say.
You just call him Patullo.
No, it's Coach Patullo. He's still a coach.
What is he the coach of right now?
He's the coach of nothing, but he's still coaching.
I got it. There it is.
They haven't given him a
He's
title.
He's not coaching a damn thing right now.
He might be the assistant to the head coach.
Oh, that's that. There you go. You want to get people back on board with the team for next year?
Listen,
make Patullo the assistant head coach. That'll do it.
My job here is not to make you feel comfortable. It's to be real with you. Keep it a
that's
B.
what I'm trying.
I am keeping it a B. Coach
optimistic. Head in the sand, Douglas. Today.
Here's the reality.
Go ahead.
Coach Stoutland gone. Coach Patullo's still here.
Yeah, well, that's a joke too. Make me feel any better.
It's going to be a hot
This window is closing.
I remain optimistic that they're going to fix this. This is fixable.
Well, everything's fixable, and there's no doubt in my mind how we will fix it. But sometimes the window closes, and then you open it back up. Can he stop this particular window from closing as fast as it looks like it is? That's really what we're talking about.
You know what this is going to be? At the end of the day, Joe, this is going to be a pride thing. This reminds me. You remember what was that? Remember Pulp Fiction when Ving Rhames was telling him when he said, he said when you're laying there on the mat or something, he said you're gonna feel that pit in your stomach, and he was like, "That's pride." He said, "I need you to tap that down."
Where was their pride last year?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Where was their pride when they couldn't move the ball?
when you giving ultimatums like that,
yeah.
You're basically calling people like, hey, you're going to fall in line and you're going to,
Yeah.
And it's going to be, some people might be prideful and be like, oh, nobody's going to be able to tell you what to do. Oh, and then you're going to have to make that decision whether or not you're going to let your pride mess with your paycheck.